Hey there, this is Dave Kilgore, and welcome back to the 2021 IRC study sessions. We're getting ready to start study session number 12, which is over chapters 17, 18, 20, 21, 22, and 23, which is combustion air, chimneys and vents, boilers, water heaters, hydronic piping, storage systems, and solar systems. Our objective today is to provide an understanding of the general provisions of combustion air, chimneys, vents, boilers, water heaters, hydronic piping, special piping and storage systems, as well as solar systems. Our reference today is the 2021 IRC, Chapters 17, 18, 20, 21, 22, and 23. Key points today. What criteria must be used to regulate combustion air for solid fuel burning appliances, oil-fired appliances, and gas-fired appliances? What venting method is to be used where two or more listed appliances are connected to a common natural draft venting system? What is the minimum thickness for a single wall metal pipe connector? How far above the highest connected appliance outlet must natural draft appliance vent terminate? And how far above the bottom of a wall vent must the natural draft gas vent terminate? Where must a chimney connector enter a masonry chimney? How is the size of the chimney flue that is connected to more than one appliance calculated? Where are valves required for a boiler? What type of gauges are mandated? What is a boiler low water cutoff? What requirements apply to expansion tanks used with hot water boilers? Where is the installation of fuel-fired water heaters prohibited? And in what manner can access be provided to water heater in an underfloor or attic area? What are the general provisions related to hydronic piping systems, and how must floor heating systems be tested? How are special piping and storage systems to be installed? And what special conditions apply to the installation of a solar energy system? So as with the other chapters, once we're through with the study session highlights, I hope you have your 2021 International Residential Code ready and open. We'll end, as always, with a list of 35 questions. I will ask the question. I want you to pause the video at that time, look up the answer, then restart the video to check your answer. With that, let's get started. Section M 1701.1. Solid fuel burning appliances shall be provided with combustion air in accordance with the appliance manufacturer's installation instructions. Oil-fired appliances shall be provided with combustion air in accordance with NFPA 31. The methods of providing combustion air in Chapter 17 do not apply to fireplaces, fireplace stoves, and direct vent appliances. The requirements of combustion and dilution air for gas-fired appliances shall be in accordance with Chapter 24. So complete combustion of solid and liquid fuel is essential for the proper operation of appliances and for the control of harmful emissions and for achieving maximum fuel efficiency. The primary use of combustion air is to supply the oxygen necessary for the complete and efficient burning of fuel. The byproducts of incomplete combustion are poisonous, corrosive, and combustible, and can cause serious appliance or equipment malfunctions that pose fire or explosion hazards. An insufficient combustion air supply can cause an appliance to overheat and discharge combustion byproducts into a building. Combustion air supply is also necessary to prevent oxygen depletion, which threatens the safety of the building occupants. Sections M 1802.2.1 and M 1802.2.2. Manually operated dampers shall not be installed except in connectors or chimneys serving solid fuel burning appliances. Automatically operated dampers shall conform to UL 17, vent or chimney connector dampers or oil-fired appliances, and be installed in accordance with the terms of their listing and label. The installation shall prevent firing of the burner when the damper is not open to a safe position. A damper installed in a solid fuel burning appliance is usually opened manually during the process of starting a fire. If the damper is not open, smoke will spill back into the room, alerting the user. For gas and liquid fueled appliances, however, the user may not be aware of a partially or completely closed damper and a hazardous condition could develop. Because a damper failure can result in a hazardous condition, automatic dampers must be listed and labeled and installed by a qualified installer so that the manufacturer's installation instructions and the terms of the listing are followed. Connectors on chimneys and vents, section M1803.3. Vent and chimney connectors shall be installed in accordance with the manufacturer's installation instructions and within the space where the appliance is located. A chimney connector or vent connector shall not pass through any floor or ceiling. The horizontal run of an uninsulated connector to a natural draft chimney shall not exceed 75% of the height of the vertical portion of the chimney above the connector. The horizontal run of a listed connector to a natural draft chimney shall not exceed 100% of the height of the vertical portion of the chimney above the connector. A chimney connector is simply a pipe that connects a fuel burning appliance to a chimney. A vent connector serves a similar purpose. The ideal chimney or vent configuration is a vertical system, even though it's not always practical. The connector length is limited because of flow resistance of the connector and heat loss through the connector wall. Connectors must be provided with minimum clearances to combustibles. The clearances established in Table M1803.3.4 may be reduced if the combustible material is protected by one of the methods established in Table M1306.2. Vents, sections M1804.2.1 and M1804.2.2. Vents passing through a roof shall extend through flashing and terminate in accordance with the manufacturer's installation requirements. Decorative shrouds shall not be installed at the termination of vents except where such shrouds are listed and labeled for use with the specific venting system and are installed in accordance with the manufacturer's installation instructions. The vent system must be physically protected to prevent damage to the vent and to prevent combustibles from coming into contact with or being placed too close to the vents. This protection is usually provided by enclosing the vent in chases, shafts, or cavities during the building construction. Physical protection is not required in the room or space where the vent originates at the appliance connection and is not required at such locations as attics that are not occupied or used for storage. Direct vent appliances, often referred to as sealed combustion appliances, have an enclosed combustion chamber and a conduit for bringing all combustion air directly from the outdoors. Rather than prescribe specific provisions, the code relies on the manufacturer's installation requirements when addressing vent terminals. Sections M1804.2.3 and M1804.2.4. Vents for natural draft appliances shall terminate not less than 5 feet above the highest connected appliance outlet, and natural draft gas vents serving wall furnaces shall terminate at an elevation of not less than 12 feet above the bottom of the furnace. Type L venting system shall terminate with a listed and labeled cap in accordance with the vent manufacturer's installation instructions, not less than 2 feet above the roof and not less than 2 feet above any portion of the building within 10 feet. Natural draft appliances must terminate at a high enough point to ensure that the venting system will perform properly under all conditions. Type L vents are used for oil burning appliances and are designed for higher temperature flue gases than those encountered in gas-fired appliances. Unless the vent is an integral part of the listed and labeled appliance, an individual vent for a single appliance must have a cross-sectional area equivalent to or greater than that of the connector to the appliance, with a minimum area of 7 square inches. All right. Section M 1805.2. A chimney connector shall enter a masonry chimney not less than 6 inches above the bottom of the chimney. Where it is not possible to locate the connector entry at least 6 inches above the bottom of the chimney flue, a cleanout shall be provided by installing a capped T in the connector next to the chimney. A connector entering a masonry chimney shall extend through, but not beyond, the wall and shall be flush with the interface of the liner. Connectors or thimbles, where used, shall be firmly cemented into the masonry. Chimney connectors must pass through the masonry chimney wall to the interface of the liner, but not beyond. A connector that extends into the chimney passageway can restrict the flow of gases and provide a ledge for creosote, soot, and debris to accumulate. The installation of a thimble at a chimney opening is permitted to provide for easy removal of the connector to facilitate cleaning, provided the thimble is permanently secured in place. The minimum required clearance between the point of entry of a connector to a masonry chimney and the bottom of the chimney flue is intended to prevent blockage of the connector opening by debris that is collected at the bottom of the flue passage. A cleanout can be provided as an alternative where a 6-inch clearance is not available. Boilers and water heaters, sections M2001.1 and M2002.2. In addition to the requirements of the IRC, the installation of boilers shall conform to the manufacturer's instructions. The manufacturer's rating data, the nameplate, and operating instructions of a permanent type shall be attached to the boiler. Boilers shall have controls set, adjusted, and tested by the installer. Boilers shall be equipped with pressure relief valves and with minimum rated capacities for the equipment served. And pressure relief valves shall be set at a maximum rating of the boiler. Discharge shall be piped to drains by gravity to within 18 inches of the floor or to an open receptor. A boiler is defined as a self-contained appliance from which hot water is circulated for heating purposes and then returned to the appliance. It operates at a maximum water pressure of 160 psig and at a maximum water temperature of 250 degrees Fahrenheit. To ensure a safe and proper installation, boilers must be constructed to the appropriate standards and installed in accordance with the manufacturer's instructions. The installer must provide a complete set of boiler operating instructions for use by the owner. It's wise to attach such instructions directly to the boiler for immediate access. In addition, a complete control diagram must be furnished and located with the operating instructions. Expansion tanks, section M2003. Hot water boilers shall be provided with the expansion tanks. Hot water boilers shall be provided with expansion tanks. Non-pressurized expansion tanks shall be securely fastened to the structure or boiler and supported to carry twice the weight of the tank filled with water. Pressurized expansion tanks shall be consistent with the volume and capacity of the system. Tank shall be capable of withstanding a hydrostatic test pressure of 2 1/2 times the allowable working pressure of the system. Inactive hydronic heating systems are filled with water at room temperature. When the boiler is fired, the temperature of the water increases, causing the volume of water to increase. Without an expansion tank, hydrostatic pressure would rapidly build within the boiler and piping system, activating the pressure relief valve. An expansion tank provides space for the water to expand as it is heated and keeps the water pressure in the normal operating range while the boiler is operating. There are two types of expansion tanks for use with residential boiler systems. A non-pressurized tank is simply a cylinder filled with air at atmospheric pressure. for example, vented to the atmosphere. In other words, vented to the atmosphere. A pressurized tank is configured as sealed cylinder divided by a flexible diaphragm. Sections M2005.2 and 2005.2.1. Fuel-fired water heaters shall not be installed in a room used as a storage closet. Water heaters located in a bedroom or bathroom shall be installed in a sealed enclosure so that combustion air will not be taken from the living space. Installation of direct vent water heaters within an enclosure is not required. Access to water heaters that are located in an attic or underfloor crawl space is permitted to be through a closet located in a sleeping room or bathroom where ventilation of those spaces is in accordance with the IRC. So the prohibitions regarding the locations of fuel-fired water heaters is intended to reduce the potential threats of depleted oxygen levels, elevated levels of carbon dioxide, nitrous oxides, carbon monoxide, and other combustion gases, ignition of combustibles, and elevated levels of flammable gases. In small rooms, such as closets, bedrooms, and bathrooms, the doors are often closed, which could allow combustion gases to build up to life-threatening levels. Direct vent appliances, including water heaters, have sealed combustion chambers and obtain all combustion air from the outside. Because the combustion chambers of a direct vent water heater do not communicate with the room atmosphere, a requirement for enclosure is not necessary. Piping systems, section M2101. Hydronic piping shall conform to table M2101.1. Approved piping, valves, fittings, and connections shall be installed in accordance with the manufacturer's installation instructions. The potable water system shall be protected from backflow in accordance with the provisions listed in section P2902. Piping shall be installed so that piping, connections, and equipment shall not be subjected to excessive stress or strains or stresses. Provisions shall be made to compensate for expansion, contraction, shrinkage, and structural settlement. Hydronic piping shall be tested hydrostatically at a pressure of 1 1/2 times the maximum design pressure, but not less than 100 pounds per square inch. A variety of piping materials is acceptable for use in hydronic piping systems. Table M2101.9 shown establishes the maximum horizontal and vertical hanger spacing intervals for various piping materials that can be used in hydronic piping systems. Pipe openings through concrete or masonry must be sleeved to compensate for expansion of the piping due to hot water. As the flow of water causes the pipe to move and expand when the boiler cycles, sufficient clearance is necessary to avoid stress damage in the piping. Section M2103.2. Radiant floor heating systems shall have a thermal barrier in accordance with sections M2103.2.1 and M2103.2.2. See exception for engineered systems. A thermal break consisting of asphalt expansion joint materials or similar insulating material shall be provided at a point where a heated slab meets a foundation wall or other conductive slab. Insulating materials used in thermal barriers shall be installed so that the manufacturer's R value mark is readily observable upon inspection. Insulating materials used in thermal barriers shall be installed so that the manufacturer's R value mark is readily observable upon inspection. Radiant floor heating systems cannot operate as intended without the installation of an appropriate thermal barrier. In slab-on-grade conditions, the ground will require a substantial changing of energy in order to hit a point of equilibrium where the thermal energy starts coming upwards instead of going downwards. In the case of a suspended floor application, if insulation is not properly applied, The lower floor will have a tendency to overheat, and the floor that is trying to be heated will be underheated. If the system is installed without complying insulation, it will be very difficult to balance the heat distribution. Oil tanks, sections M2201.1 and M2201.2. Supply tanks shall be listed and labeled and shall conform to UL 58 for underground tanks and UL 80 for indoor tanks. The maximum amount of fuel oil storage stored above ground or inside of a building shall be 660 gallons. See exception for large storage of fuel oil used for space or water heating. Supply tanks located within a building larger than 10 gallons shall be placed not less than 5 feet from any fire or flame either within or external to any fuel burning appliance. Tanks installed outdoors above ground shall be not less than 5 feet from an adjoining property line, and such tanks shall be suitably protected from the weather and from physical damage. The cross-connection of two supply tanks on the same level is permitted if the total capacity of the system does not exceed 660 gallons. This procedure, which uses gravity flow from one tank to the other, provides an option for installation purposes. Underground tanks must be at least 1 foot from the wall of a basement, pit, or property line to ensure that settlement of surrounding materials does not place a stress on the tank or the piping. Tanks must also be covered with at least 12 inches of earth for physical protection. Solar systems, section M2301.2.1. Access shall be provided to solar energy equipment for maintenance. Solar systems and appurtenances shall not obstruct or interfere with the operation of any doors, windows, or other building components requiring operation or access. Roof-mounted solar thermal equipment shall not obstruct or interfere with the operation of roof-mounted equipment, appliances, chimneys, plumbing vents, roof hatches, smoke vents, skylights, and other roof penetrations and openings. Developed due to an emphasis placed on the conservation of our natural resources, solar energy systems allow for an alternative method in providing space heating or cooling, domestic water heating, and pool heating. The effectiveness of these systems depends on the size of the solar array, the energy requirements of the dwelling, and the availability of sunlight. Some water heaters and boilers are designed to operate with solar assistance. These units heat water by ordinary methods and have additional connections for solar preheating. Preheated water reduces the amount of energy that is consumed with ordinary heating methods. Okay, so if you do not have your codebook open yet, please get it open to chapters 17, 18, 20, 21, 22, and 23. As I stated earlier, I am going to read the question. After I read the question, and I would like for you to pause the video, look up the answer, come back, restart the video, and verify your answer. And good luck. I hope you get them all right. Number 1, which of the following types of appliances is required to be provided with combustion air in accordance with NFPA 31? Is it solid fuel burning, oil-fired, direct vent, or gas-fired? Our answer is B. Oil-fired is required to be provided with combustion air in accordance with NFPA 31. You'll find that in section M1701.1. Number 2. Manually operated dampers shall not be installed in vents except in connectors or chimneys serving what types of appliances? Solid fuel burning, oil-fired, direct vent, or gas-fired? The answer is A, solid fuel burning. We're going to find that in section M1802.2.1. It's going to be a fireplace or a wood burning stove, something of that nature. Number 3, where a single wall metal pipe vent connector serving an oil-fired appliance listed for type L vent passes through a wall, the pipe shall be guarded by a ventilated metal thimble with a minimum diameter of how many inches larger than the vent connector? Is it 3 inches larger, 4, 6, or 8 inches larger than the vent connector? Our answer is B, minimum diameter of 4 inches larger than the vent connector. We're going to find that in section 1803.3.1, number 2. Number 4, the bottom of the vent terminal for a mechanical draft system shall be located a minimum of how many inches above the finished ground level? The bottom of the vent terminal for a mechanical draft system shall be located a minimum of how many inches above the finished ground level? Is it 3, 4, 6, or 12? Our answer is D, a minimum 12 inches above the finished ground. Section M 1804.2.6, number 4. Number 5. Unless an integral part of a listed and labeled appliance, an individual type L vent for a single appliance shall have a minimum cross-sectional area of how many square inches? Is that 5 square inches, 6, 7, or 8 square inches? Our answer is C, 7 square inches. Minimum cross-sectional area of 7 square inches. Find that in section M 1804.3.1. Number 6. A chimney connector shall enter a masonry chimney a minimum of how many inches above the bottom of the chimney? Is it 6, 8, 9, or 12? Our answer is A, 6 inches above the bottom of the chimney. Find that in section M 1805.2. Number 7. Non-pressurized expansion tanks shall be supported to carry how many times the weight of the tank filled with water? Is that 1.5 times, 2 times, 2.5 times, or 3 times the weight of the tank filled with water? Our answer is B, 2 times the weight. Find that in section M2003.1. Number 8. In a hydronic piping system, solder joints in a metal pipe shall occur a minimum of how many inches from a transition from such metal pipe to PE-RT pipe or tubing? Is it 6 inches, 8 inches, 12 inches, or 18 inches? Our answer is D. In a hydronic piping system, solder joints in metal pipe shall occur a minimum of 18 inches from a transition from such metal pipe to PE-RT pipe or tubing. Find that in section 2105.13.2. Number 9. A pipe in a ground source heat pump hydronic piping system having an exterior surface temperature exceeding 250 degrees Fahrenheit shall have a minimum clearance of how many inches from combustible materials? So 1 inch, 1.5 inches, 2 inches, or 3 inches? Our answer is A, shall have a minimum clearance of 1 inch from combustible materials, section 2105.20. Number 10. A ground source heat pump loop system shall be pressure tested with water at how many psi for how many minutes with no observed leaks prior to the backfilling of the connection trenches? Is it 60 psi for 30 minutes, 80 psi for 15 minutes, 80 psi for 30 minutes, or 100 psi for 15 minutes? Our answer is D, 100 psi for 15 minutes. We'll find that in section 2105.28. Number 11. Oil supply tanks used within a building with a capacity of more than 10 gallons shall be placed a minimum of how many feet from any fire or flame within a fuel burning appliance? Is that minimum of 5 feet, 10 feet, 12 feet, or 15 feet from any fire or flame within a fuel burning appliance? Our answer is A, minimum of 5 feet. Section M2201.2.1. Number 12. The horizontal run of an uninsulated connector to a natural draft chimney shall be a maximum of what percent of the height of the vertical portion of the chimney above the connector? I will read that again. The horizontal run of an uninsulated connector to a natural draft chimney shall be a maximum of what percent of the height of the vertical portion of the chimney above the connector? Is it 50%, 75%, 100%, or 125%? Our answer is B, 75% of the height of the vertical portion of the chimney. Find that in section M, 1803.3.2. Number 13. For other than direct vent appliances, the vent termination for a mechanical draft system shall be mounted a minimum of how many feet horizontally from an oil tank or a gas meter? Is it 3, 4, 15, or 10 feet? Our answer is A, a minimum of 3 feet horizontally from an oil tank or gas meter. Section M, 1804.2.6, number 5. Number 14. Vent piping for an oil tank shall terminate outside of a building at a point a minimum of how many feet measured vertically or horizontally from any building opening? Is it 2 feet, 3 feet, 5 feet, or 10 feet? Our answer is A, minimum of 2 feet measured vertically or horizontally from any building opening. Section M2203.5. Number 15. In low temperature hydronic piping, solder joints in a metal pipe shall occur a minimum of how many inches from any transition from the metal pipe to PE-ALPE pressure pipe? Is that 12 inches, 18 inches, 24 inches, or 36 inches? Our answer is B, 18 inches. You're going to find that in section M2104.4.2. Number 16. Unless specified otherwise in the manufacturer's installation instructions, the cross-sectional area of a chimney flue connected to a solid fuel burning appliance shall be a maximum of how many times the area of the flue collar? 1.5, 2, 3, or 4 times the area of the flue collar? The answer is C, be a maximum of 3 times the area of the flue collar. Find that in section M1805.3.1. Number 17. Vent and chimney connectors shall have a minimum slope of how much of a rise per foot of run? Is it 1/8 inch, 1/4 inch, 3/8 inch, or 1/2 inch rise per foot of run? Our answer is B, 1/4 inch of rise per foot of run. Find that section M1803.3. Number 18. The horizontal run of a listed vent connector to a natural draft chimney shall be a maximum of what percent of height of the vertical portion of the chimney above the connector? Is it 50%, 75%, 100%, or 125%? The answer is C, 100%. The horizontal run of a listed vent connector to a natural draft chimney shall be a maximum of 100% of the height of the vertical portion of the chimney above the connector. Find that in section M1803.3.2. Number 19. Unless modified by table M1306.2, what is the minimum required clearance between an uninsulated type L venting piping connector serving a solid fuel appliance and any combustible materials? 3 inches, 6 inches, 9 inches, or 18 inches? Answer is C, 9 inches. Find that in table M1803.3.4. Number 20. A natural draft gas vent serving a wall furnace shall terminate a minimum height of how high above the bottom of the furnace? 5 feet, 8 feet, 10 feet, or 12 feet? Answer is D. Minimum height of 12 feet above the bottom of the furnace. Section 1804.2.3. Number 21. Chimney flues, other than those serving oil-fired appliances sized per NFPA 31, connected to more than one appliance shall be sized based on the area of the largest connector plus what percent of the areas of additional chimney connectors. Is it 50%, 75%, 100%, or 125%? The answer is A. Based on the largest connector plus 50% of the areas of additional chimney connectors. We're going to find that in section M1805.3. Number 22. The pressurized expansion tank for a boiler shall be capable of withstanding a minimum hydrostatic test pressure of what of the allowable working pressure of the system? Is it equal to, twice, 2 1/2 times, or 3 times the allowable working pressure of the system? Answer is C. Must be capable of withstanding a minimum hydrostatic test pressure of 2 1/2 times the allowable working pressure of the system. Find that in section M2003.1.1. Number 23. Hydronic piping to be embedded in concrete shall be tested by applying minimum hydrostatic pressure of how much psi for a minimum time period of how many minutes? Is it 50 psi in 15 minutes, 50 psi in 30 minutes, 100 psi in 15 minutes, or 100 psi in 30 minutes? The answer is D, 100 psi, 30 minutes. Hydronic piping to be embedded in concrete shall be tested by applying a minimum hydrostatic pressure of 100 psi for a minimum time of 30 minutes. Find that section M2103.4. 24. Fill piping for oil tanks shall terminate outside of a building a minimum distance of how far from any building opening at the same or lower level? 12 inches, 2 feet, 5 feet, or 10 feet? Our answer is B, a minimum distance of 2 feet from any building opening at the same or lower level. Section M2203.3. Number 25. Solar thermal energy system shall be equipped with means to limit the maximum water temperature of the system fluid entering or exchanging heat with any pressurized vessel inside the dwelling unit to a maximum of what temperature? 120, 150, 180, or 210 degrees Fahrenheit. Our answer is C, 108, maximum of 180 degrees Fahrenheit. We'll find that in section M, 2301.2.12. Number 26. Fuel-fired water heaters shall not be installed in where? Bathroom, bedroom, kitchen, or storage closet. Our answer is D. Fuel-fired water heaters shall not be installed in storage closets. Find that in section M, 2005.2. Number 27. 1-inch diameter PEX tubing used for hydronic piping shall be supported at maximum intervals of how far when installed in a horizontal position? 2 feet 8 inches, 4 feet, 6 feet 6 inches, or 8 feet. How often does that PEX hydronic piping have to be supported? Our answer is A, every 2 feet 8 inches. Table M 2101.9. Number 28. Hydronic piping shall be tested hydrostatically at a minimum pressure of what? The maximum system design pressure, but not less than what PSI? So 1 time the maximum and 75 PSI, 1 and 1/2 times the maximum and 100 PSI, 2 times the maximum, 125 PSI, or 2 and 1/2 times the maximum system design pressure and 125 PSI. The answer is B. Hydronic piping shall be tested hydrostatically at a minimum pressure of 1 and 1/2 times the maximum system design pressure, but not less than 100 PSI. Find that in section M 2101.10. Number 29. Unless intended for the storage of fuel oil used for space or water heating, a fuel oil storage tank installed inside of a building shall have a maximum capacity of how many gallons? 330, 660, 1,000, or 2,000 gallons? Our answer is B, 660, maximum capacity of 660 gallons. Section M 2201.2. Number 30. Pressure at the fuel oil supply inlet to an appliance shall be a maximum of what PSI? 3, 5, 10, or 15? The answer is A, a maximum of 3 PSI. You're going to find that in section 2204.3. Number 31. A non-pressurized expansion tank for a hot water boiler shall have a minimum capacity of how many gallons, where the system volume of the forced hot water system is 50 gallons? Is it 3.0 gallons, 6.0 gallons, 7.5 gallons, or 12.0 gallons? Our answer is C, 7.5 gallons. Find that in table M 2003.2. Number 32. Vents for natural draft appliances shall terminate a minimum of how many feet above the highest connected appliance outlet? 3 feet, 5 feet, 10 feet, or 12 feet? Our answer is B, minimum of 5 feet above the highest connected appliance outlet. Section M 1804.2.3. Number 33. Discharge piping beyond the pressure relief valve of a boiler shall terminate a maximum of how many inches above the floor to an open receptor? 1 inch, 6 inches, 12 inches, or 18 inches? Our answer is D, 18 inches. Section M2002.4. Number 34. Fuel oil tanks installed outside above ground shall be located a minimum of how many feet from an adjoining property line? 5 feet, 10 feet, 15 feet, or 20 feet? The answer is minimum of 5 feet from an adjoining property line. Section M2201.2.2. Number 35. Vent piping for a fuel oil tank shall have a minimum pipe size of how many inches? 3/4 of an inch, 1 inch, 1 1/4 inches, 1 1/2 inches. Our answer is C. Vent piping for a fuel oil tank shall have a minimum pipe size of 1 1/4 inches. All right, that wraps up study session 12. Hope that was informative. Hope you were able to find all the answers. If you struggled finding answers, keep going back through the questions and keep looking them up. It's by no means all the answers that you're going to need for an actual certification test, but it's good practice to find the answers of the questions. Till the next one, I'm Dave Kilgore. Thanks for joining me.